Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. Well, another whistleblower has stepped forward with a story to tell. Will it move the needle that much? I don't think so, but nonetheless, it's very interesting. There was an article today. It was an exclusive in the Daily Mail again. Seems like whistleblowers are taking their stories to the Daily Mail. I am certain that one of the reasons for this is because the mainstream newspapers from this country, the United States, like the New York Times or the Washington Post, won't touch these stories. They won't talk about them because, again, they are part of the establishment, and they do not want these kind of stories where something like the Daily Mail, they're more tabloidish, and they will print these stories. They will put these stories out there, and they will reach a very large audience, regardless of the source. And I'm glad that they're actually whistleblowers starting to step up to the plate. Unfortunately, this whistleblower does not have any end-all proof, and actually he turns out more or less to be a third-hand witness for the most part. He talks about information that was relayed to him by somebody who was passed on, who knew and this person who passed on talked to other people who told him stories. So it's basically third-hand information. But this person, Eric Tabor, he's a defense contractor for 13 years, according to the Daily Mail. He actually met with AARO earlier this year in May and related the story that was told to him. So I believe that what he's telling is true, and I believe that the story that was told to him is true. However, there is no evidence to back any of this up, and we'll just have what you'll get, if anything, will be people from the government telling you that this is not true, that this is false, when a lot of us out there know that these stories, for the most part, are true. When people are stepping up to the plate like this and telling about things that are going on behind the scenes with regards to UFOs, they're taking chances. They're putting their careers on the line here. I mean, you don't know what kind of repercussions you could face. But this guy felt it was important to tell his story. And anyway, here's the headline. It says, Secrets of Area 51. Metallic egg-shaped UFO the size of an SUV was kept at the highly classified Air Force base in the 1980s, whistleblower claims. Anyway, let's go through some of this article here. It says, an egg-shaped metallic UFO was kept at Area 51 in the 1980s, a whistleblower claims in an exclusive interview with the Daily Mail. Engineers at the Nevada Air Base claimed the CIA found the strange craft in the desert and brought it to them for investigation, but later shipped it to another base after they were unable to get inside the object. Eric Tabor has been a defense aerospace contractor for 13 years and has held a security clearance to work on military aircraft. In an interview with Daily Mail, he revealed the story his late great-uncle Sam Urquhart, an Area 51 contractor, told him about a UFO at the mysterious desert base. Now, so they have pictures here of this guy. I'll leave the link so you can check out the story for yourself. They have pictures of him standing with this Mr. Urquhart, who's now deceased. But anyway, here's the story. He says, Tabor testified in May to the Pentagon's UFO investigation unit, the All-domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO, who are collecting accounts of alleged government possession of non-human craft. The claim, though an unverified story from a now-deceased witness, is part of a long history of rumors about potential extraterrestrial craft or futuristic spaceships stored at the Nevada Desert Air Base near Groom Lake, north of Las Vegas. Now, as a lot of us out there know, Bob Lazar claimed that in the late 1980s, he worked at S4, which is near Area 51, and he saw 9 flying saucers. Now, some people, the UFO community, it seems, for the most part, is divided on Bob Lazar. I actually believe Bob Lazar. I think he's telling the truth. And I haven't really seen any evidence that shows that he's a liar. But we've heard stories like this before. This is not just Bob Lazar. There's been other people who have claimed that in some of these secret bases out in the desert that they were looking at and studying UFOs and storing them there for it seems. I mean, they had 9 different craft there. In S4, according to Bob Lazar, they were trying to reverse engineer one of them. I mean, are they working on all of them at the same time, or are they just storing them there? I mean, I guess they really probably can't figure out really how these things tick. It seems like they figure out how to operate some of these things, but they don't know exactly what makes them tick. and they would not be able to duplicate it. That's what it seems like. But anyway, it continues here. It says, the news comes after whistleblowers told Congress the government has a secret program to capture crashed or landed non-human vehicles and has for decades been attempting to glean technological insights from these alleged out-of-this-world objects. The claims have prompted lawmakers to draft legislation to disclose any such programs currently working its way through Congress. Unfortunately, the stuff that's working its way through Congress is dead on arrival because, as we all know, the UAP Disclosure Act has been totally gutted thanks to the efforts of representatives like Mike Turner and Mike Rogers, people who are political puppets for the military-industrial complex. Thanks a lot, guys. Thank you very much for not looking out for the taxpayers and instead doing whatever the donors tell you to do. Thanks a lot, guys. It's very much appreciated. Tabor spoke to Daily Mail only about his great-uncle's story, declining to comment on any of his own work as a defense contractor. So I guess there's, let me just stop there for a second. Is it possible that Tabor actually knows more and is not saying anything about it? It actually is possible. And we'll get into that in a little bit later. Tabor said he struck up a friendship with his grandmother's brother after moving to the West Coast from Mississippi in 2012. The younger engineer said he repeatedly quizzed Urquhart on the truth about rumors of aliens at Area 51 and was always brushed off. But one day, Urquhart relented. My great-uncle served in the Air Force for 28 years, E8 rank, equivalent to a first sergeant, Tabor told Daily Mail. He told me he worked at Area 51 from 1997 until 2014. Urquhart began his job at Area 51 working for defense contractor EG&G, which later partnered with Raytheon to become JT3 LLC and subsequently JT4 LLC. He was head of security for his engineering group and a data configuration specialist. His group did radar cross-section testing. I kept asking him about UFOs. He said, I know nothing. Then one day we were on his back porch and he said, okay, I'll tell you about one crashed craft that I knew of. He said, when I first got there in 1997, I had a personal conversation with the senior EG&G engineer whose group was tasked with trying to reverse engineer an object that was brought there by some CIA people in the 1980s. It was supposedly just found in a remote desert location fully intact. Now, let me just stop there for a second. Now, he's saying the CIA brought this craft there in the 1980s, and I guess this would be in addition to the other CIA craft, the other involvement of the CIA starting since 2002, where it was recently revealed by other whistleblowers in a different article from last week. 3 whistleblowers who said that the CIA's office of one of the CIA offices actually is involved in recovering craft and had been helped orchestrate the recovery of 9 craft since 2002. So obviously it seems like the CIA has been involved in this for a very long time. Anyway, continuing with this quote from Tabor. He says, the senior EG&G engineer described to my great-uncle that it was egg-shaped, about the size of an SUV, smooth and seamless, metallic-looking, silverish gray in color with no control surfaces, no flaps, no inlet, and no exhaust, and no writing or symbols on the outside. These are the best and brightest engineers you can think of. They tried to no avail to figure out what the power source was, how to activate it, and how it works. They tried to induce electricity to it. X-rays couldn't penetrate it. It showed up on X-ray as a solid object. They tried to open it and penetrate its hull. They could not. They said they were able to take some very small samples of the material, and I'm not an expert in chemistry, but I guess from the isotope ratio or the mixture of elements, they concluded it was not made on Earth. So let me just stop there for a second. Just the other day in a previous podcast, I mentioned the idea that and let me, before I even continue with this, I want to just say that this article also continues the report that this person, Terry Tabor, filed with AARO. But anyway, what I was saying in the previous podcast was the idea that maybe some of these things don't crash. Maybe they're like Trojan horses. And this here sounds exactly like that, right? I mean, it's a completely intact craft that was found somewhere in a desert. The CIA brings it to Area 51. Nobody can do anything with it. They can't bust it open. They can't break it open. X-ray shows that it's a solid object. Well, you know, what was the purpose of it? What were they leaving it there for? Is it like one of those deals out of 2001: A Space Odyssey, where they put a monolith on the moon, extraterrestrials? I don't know, but it just seems like maybe that's what's really happening here, is that they're trying to seed the human race with materials, perhaps, or basically not that, even worse than that. Maybe they're trying that this is the way they figure out who's in charge here. Anyway, continuing here, it says Tabor said Urquhart told him eventually the craft was shipped to another base, possibly White Sands missile range in New Mexico, and that was the last time the engineers heard about it. But Urquhart had one more shocking twist to his story. My great-uncle would collect radar data and bring it into secure vaults to catalog and store it. He was in one of these secure data vault storage rooms in the main control building, nicknamed the Taj Mahal, when on the wall he saw an up-close, crystal-clear color photograph of the exact same object that the senior engineer had discussed. And also says here that Tabor shared pictures with this Daily Mail that showed him with Urquhart, including a group photo with his Area 51 engineer colleagues in a brake trailer at the base, and an insignia patch designed for their radar analysis group. But they didn't have a picture of the egg-shaped craft, which is very unfortunate. Again, this is like a third-hand information kind of story. This guy that is blowing the whistle here heard this information from his uncle, who's now passed away, and his uncle had actually heard this from some EG&G engineer years before. So it doesn't really move the needle that much, I would say. But again, it's still very interesting. It's yet another story that none of us has ever heard of before. And when you put all the other stories together with it, it all paints a broader picture that shows that they are covering this up, that there is reverse engineering programs, there are crash retrieval programs, and they're keeping this a secret, and they're not sharing this stuff with the public. Anyway, Tabor said this. He said, Sam said the American people would probably never get to see it. Let me just stop there. Yes, that's right. They don't want us to see this. They don't want us to know about it. This is all going to remain a secret for as long as they possibly can keep it a secret. Otherwise, we would have had that legislation passed. But, of course, the tentacles of the Pentagon and the Secret Control Group reached out and activated their puppets in Congress, and voila, no UAP Disclosure Act. It's that simple. It's all about the money. It's all about greed. It's all about power. It's all about information, and it's all about screwing over the taxpayers and not telling them anything and keeping them in a stupid dark corner. And not only that, and for the rest of the people that see UFOs or have encounters with extraterrestrials or both, right? Those people, who cares? That's collateral damage. If they have an experience, and we'll just say that they're crazy, they're having hallucinations, they're drunk, or they're stupid, or on drugs, whatever. And meanwhile, we'll get all the riches out of this ourselves. And meanwhile, the hell with the people, the hell with the taxpayers. Anyway, continuing here, it says, Tabor admitted he sold his great-uncle's patch for $600 on eBay in March when he was strapped for cash, a move he now regrets. Urquhart, a 28-year Air Force vet who served in the Vietnam and Gulf Wars, died in August last year, age 75. His story has now been documented by the Pentagon's UFO Investigation Office, AARO, after Tabor was interviewed by staff in May. A memo of his account, along with other reports and witness statements, is due to be compiled and sent to Congress next year. Tabor said the AARO staffers were professional and non-threatening, adding, I was surprised at how interested they were. Tabor said he decided to come forward to push for limited disclosure. He just wants limited disclosure of what he believes is the truth about non-human craft in the government's possession. And he makes a statement here saying that he doesn't feel like he's not giving away any technical information that could be exploited by other countries like Russia or China. And he says this, he says, despite what people may think, secrets can be kept. If you're getting paid well, if you have a security clearance, if you have signed a non-disclosure agreement, you're going to be happy, and you're going to work hard, and you're going to keep your mouth shut. Let me just stop there for a second. That's a great admission by somebody who's a contractor in a defense aerospace company. because it just goes to show you that, yes, secrets can be kept. You have all these people running around, including Mike Turner, who was on Fox News earlier this year, making the claim that there's no way a secret like this could be kept. But yes, it could be kept, just like Mr. Tabor here is saying it could be kept, because if you're getting paid well and you have signed non-disclosure agreements, you're going to keep your mouth shut. And you're going to enjoy your life and work for the government with a nice big paycheck. And you're going to not ever say anything about anything because you're not going to want to put any of that stuff at risk. Anyway, continuing here, it says disclosure. Here's what he says. He says disclosure has to be done very carefully. We don't want our enemies to know everything about what we've got, but I do believe wholeheartedly that humanity deserves to know the truth if we have recovered these non-human objects or craft, which 100% I believe we have. So there we go. I totally agree with that statement. That's something that I've talked about all the time. I don't think that we need to know what they've learned reverse engineering these things. That needs to remain top secret. I understand that. Of course it does. But it's the other part, the extraterrestrial reality part. That part needs to be told publicly. It needs to be revealed to the public what's going on here, that we are not alone in the universe, that there are other beings out there, and they are regularly coming here. So they're here all the time. There's a presence here right now. They're up to something, we don't know what, but there are most certainly people have been seeing extraterrestrials and their craft for many decades now, and it's time that they're told about what's going on, told the truth. Oh yeah, guess what? There's extraterrestrials here. There's nothing we could do about it. Sorry, but we just thought we'd let you know. That should be fine, because it's the truth. What does it matter? What does it matter? It's like anything else. They could be, some of them could pose a threat. Some of them are just here just checking us out. Who knows? But whatever the case, it doesn't matter. The people need to know the truth. Anyway, here it says Urquhart's former employer EG&G was linked to other claims of a secret government program holding crashed alien craft. And then it gets into the Eric Davis, Thomas Wilson memo and all that stuff that was mentioned in that. I'm not going to read the rest of this article, but I will leave the link so you can check it out. So yeah, we know that the defense contractors have been involved in this cover-up. Some of them, not all of them apparently, but most certainly some of these defense contractors have been involved in trying to reverse engineer these things. They're working alongside with the secret control group in the government. Probably some of these people are part of the secret control group. And they've been studying this stuff behind the scenes, and there's people like this guy Eric Tabor's uncle, who's now passed on, who talked to other people who worked on these projects. But you know what? This is only one whistleblower that's talking here. Now, last week we had an article where there was 3 whistleblowers. They were anonymous, but there's more whistleblowers out there. There was at least 40 apparently, right? We need to start hearing from more of these people, and I keep hoping. I'm hoping that some of them, right, have some evidence to go along with whatever they're going to tell us. We really need that evidence, because as we learned, people like David Grush stepped up to the plate, and you still have detractors. Even within the UFO community, there was a lot of people in the UFO community that said, yeah, he's telling us everything we already know, but he's not giving us any evidence. I understand that, but I do believe that he's telling the truth. That he said he saw documentation that corroborated some of the things that he was being told by people who worked in these programs. But again, I understand. Yes, we need to have something more. We need the evidence. We need something that's going to bring an end to this cover-up. It's very possible that we may get some sort of a disclosure, but it might not come from the government. It's possible that it could come from a whistleblower. Somebody could present something and say, hey, this is extraterrestrial artifact of some kind, and you could have different scientists look at it and say, yeah, well, we agree. But then you could still have the government saying, we have no idea what this guy's talking about. We have no idea where he got it from. They could still continue their campaign of lying even after the truth comes out. Because listen, the bottom line is this: they do not want to come clean on this. They just don't, and it's very clear now, especially with what's happened here recently with that UAP Disclosure Act getting canned. So they're going to fight tooth and nail right to the end, and they probably know they're going to get away with this. That's what it probably feels like to them from the position that they are in. But things could change. Things could happen. There are things that they can't, that they just will not be able to account for that might happen. There are people that might step up to the plate. They have no idea who are getting ready to step up to a plate, and they could be caught with their pants down. I hope that's the case. I hope that one of these whistleblowers not only provides the information, provides the end-all proof that shows that there is an extraterrestrial reality. However, I would really want them to provide some documentation that names the names of the people who are responsible for this cover-up, and then we could clean house. Then we could figure out who it is, have them all testify, have them all put in jail, whatever needs to happen. Right now, of course, I'm a person who says I just want to get this cover-up over with and move on, and I don't care what the reason was, and I don't care who's responsible. But I'm starting to think in my mind, maybe some of these people that are responsible for this cover-up do need to be held accountable for what they've been doing. We had an effort here, a strong effort where the rug was pulled out from under it. But why are they doing this? Why are they trying to maintain this power over us? Why are they doing it? I think that these people, we need to find out who these people are, and they should be held accountable. To me, as far as I'm concerned, this cover-up is now extended. It's become something worse. It's basically a crime against humanity at this point, as far as I'm concerned. I believe that the human race as a whole should have known about this a long time ago. But some people are optimistic. Like I saw Richard Dolan was talking today on Twitter. He made this comment. He said he's disappointed but undeterred by the gutting of the UAP Disclosure Act. It was our beacon of hope for transparency on UAPs, now reduced to a shell. Yet, this isn't the end. It could pave the way for explosive hearings on UAPs. The UAP community is growing, vocal, and active. We're still in this fight for meaningful disclosure. The quest for truth continues. We will not be silenced. Yeah, I agree with that. I think that we are going to move forward. It's not going to. It could have made things a lot more interesting. I think if that amendment would have been included in the National Defense Authorization Act. Unfortunately, it's not. But that does not mean it's over yet, because there are still whistleblowers out there who seem to be interested in getting the truth out. We'll see what happens as time goes on. We'll see. Anyway, moving on, I want to talk about, in the last podcast, I talked about the top 10 things the government knows about ETs and UFOs. And I asked people, I provided my top 10 list, and I said, if anybody out there has anything to add to it, or they want to comment on it, to provide their insight on it. And I received a lot of comments, and I really appreciate it. And I received one, yesterday from Crypto Citizen. And he says, Jim, you asked for our own list. Here's mine. He has his top 10 list, Crypto Citizen, and we're going to go through his list here. He says, here's what Crypto Citizen believes the government knows about UFOs and aliens. He says, number one, they have wreckage, intact craft, and bodies, but they still can't duplicate the performance. Number two, they know the abduction phenomena and all it entails, the hybridization, etc., is real, and they know its purpose. Okay. Number three, they know the moon is not a naturally occurring celestial body and acts as a sort of base for non-human intelligence operations. I've heard stuff like that before. I've heard that some people think that the moon is actually an artificial satellite. I remember reading a book by Jim Marrs called Alien Agenda. He touched on that the moon is actually hollow, that some people, some astronauts claim that when something hit it, it sounds like it had a hollow reverberation, and that maybe it is an extraterrestrial base. I've heard that, but I can't verify that. But hey, some people think that's the case. Who knows? I don't doubt that the extraterrestrials do use the moon as some kind of a base. I mean, maybe that's a place one of the places they're hiding out at. In addition to oceans and places like that. Number four, they're working with a contingent of the beings as a delegation for a wider galactic coalition. This is the only true government on Earth. The rest are phony and impotent. So, Crypto Citizen is suggesting that basically the aliens are in control, and people in our government are working along with them, and that's basically who's in charge. Could be. Number 5, there was an agreement for us to keep our nukes in exchange for something, most likely abductions or cattle. So Crypto Citizen believes that the government has made an agreement not to use our nukes, basically, in exchange, or we are allowed to keep our nukes in exchange for letting them do abductions or Now I don't agree with all of these things. I'm just going to point out I don't agree with this one because. To me, I don't think that these beings would have to. Why would they feel the need to make any kind of agreement at all? I just don't see it. But that's what some people believe otherwise. Okay, number 6, NASA is a cover for a secret space program that's way more advanced and effective, but still nowhere close to what the aliens use. That's another rumor that I've heard. Now, when I was doing my list, I was pointing out things that I am pretty certain that the government knows, and this is what Crypto Citizen's doing. What he's putting forward, what he thinks. Now, this is his opinion, and maybe he's right. I don't know. Okay, number 7, they know about ultra-terrestrials and how they relate to extraterrestrials. Cattle mutilations and missing 411 cases may fit into this category. I don't know. I don't know about ultra-terrestrials, quite frankly. Anyway, continuing. 8, the aliens have told them about future cataclysms, which is why they're trying to hide the fact that everything gets reset on this planet every few millennium, and humanity, along with other megafauna, have to start again from scratch. Number 9, the cover-up is far, far deeper and more effective than we can possibly imagine. They know where these craft are operating and what their daily or weekly, monthly missions are. There is no escaping the tentacles of the control group. And then finally, number 10, when you sign up for the control group at a young age, you're in it for the rest of your life, and you're basically part of a separate civilization. They look at us regular plebs as disposable meat bricks. Disposable meat bricks. That's interesting. Yeah, and it's interesting. Number 10. You have to believe it's almost something like the mafia, right? Once you're in, you're not getting out. Unless you're getting out maybe in a pine box. About it. So who knows? I don't know. Could be. Okay, anyway, moving on. I want to talk about the most recent poll I ran on Spotify, and it was for this episode, Top 10 Things the United States Government Knows About ETs and UFOs. And I asked this question: is the United States government's secret UFO control group justified in keeping secret what it knows about extraterrestrials for as long as it has? Now, I've had 55 votes so far. 14 people, or 25.5%, say yes. It's justified. So there's 14 people out there, right? Or 25.5% of those who have responded thus far who believe that it's justified, that they need to keep this a secret, while 41 people, or 74.5%, say no. But let's talk about the yeses there, the people who believe that it's justified. I've said this before. There could be things that we just don't know about that the government does know about, and that's why they feel it's very important to keep this a secret. There could be some joker card in the deck here that people in the UFO community never thought about before. That's very possible. And everything that people like me are saying, from the viewpoint of the control group, they could be thinking, boy, if he only knew. He wouldn't be saying these things. He wouldn't be requesting. He would know that maybe it's better to keep this a secret, because if the world knows, this is going to happen. That's possible, right? But at the same time, right, you need to get this in. That doesn't matter. You still need to tell everybody. The people in the secret control group, they have access to all this stuff, right? All of this data, all of this information that they've culled from recovered craft and dead alien bodies for decades now. That information needs to be shared with the rest of the world. The scientific community needs to be looking at this stuff. The world needs to be brought up to speed on this. They need to know finally. They need to, instead of this being left in this caveman dark that they have us in since 1947. I mean, it makes it feels like it's like Major Donald Kehoe, the guy he was from the retired Marine Corps from the 1950s who wrote books on UFOs. He was the first major UFO investigator. He was someone who had inside connections, and he used to say that like he came to the conclusion by the toward the late 1950s that the Air Force was treating the American people like they're a bunch of children for not telling them the truth. And it sort of feels like it's even worse than that as far as I'm concerned at this point. It's worse than treating us like children. It's like treating us as like we're not even human beings. That it seems like they think that they're better than the rest of us. These people sitting on these secrets who are controlling these programs, they think that they're better than everyone else. That's what it feels like to me now. It's beyond treating us like we're a bunch of stupid kids, right? They're treating us like we're secondary humans or something. That's what it feels like. Like we don't deserve to know about this great, magnificent find. We don't deserve to know, but they do for some reason. How come they deserve? They get to know. They get to find out, learn about all these goodies and things, but not the rest of the people. Just them. That's what it feels like to me. It's worse. It's worse than being treated like a child. So hopefully, even though everything is not looking good right now, but the demise of the UAP Disclosure Act. But hey, I think we need better whistleblower stories than the one that we had today. We need more than just third-hand stories. We need more than anecdotal third-hand stories for sure. We need evidence. We need that hard proof that ends this once and for all, and shuts up the debunkers once and for all. They'll disappear like a nightmare before the breaking day. It's going to be such a great day when that comes, when the moment happens. But I have faith. I still think I want to see it happen in my lifetime, and that's why I'm going to keep talking about it for as long as I possibly can. Anyway, I want to say thank you all for joining me. Until next time.